Hello, everybody, and a warm welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is all things vinous in this channel. So if you are really interested in the wonderful world of wine, you will find what you need in this channel. Lots of information. And if you are studying the world of wine, these presentations follow key text and key syllabus of major wine qualifications, so you will find these very useful. We are here looking at sparkling wines of the United States of America, and the States is split into two parts. This is part two, talking about the geography of the sparkling wines from across the States. Part one is only available to those of you who subscribe. Part two here is a free video across all channels. Now, if you have any comments or questions, please do get in touch. Perhaps you are living in California or the States. You drink a lot of the sparkling wines. What are your thoughts in comparison to champagne? Value for money, perhaps? What are your favorite styles? Please do get in touch. Okay, let's start looking at, first of all, California and the key sort of concepts in play for Californian sparkling wine and the key places. And later we'll finish on the Pacific Northwest, looking at Washington and Oregon. So, of course, as with elsewhere across the world, who focus on traditional method sparkling wines, the key grape varieties in play here are Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So the grapes are focused on those two varieties for premium sparkling wines, and they are predominantly grown in the coastal regions cooled by the Pacific Ocean. So you'll see in that picture there, this is a part of the West Sonoma coast. This is the coastal part of Bodega Bay, famous for Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. But you get a real idea here, a sense of how cold this is, because you've got the Pacific, you've got the Alaskan current coming down this area, so places like Mendocino down here into Sonoma County, and it brings cold water, which of course cools down the land, and then cool breezes that go across the land. So this is a cooling effect. Now, it is said that if you're in, say, Napa, you could be in Napa in sort of late spring wearing shorts, and if you drive to the West Sonoma coast, you will need to put on a jumper, a pullover, I suppose, depending on where you are, and put on jeans and wrap up, because it's significantly cooler on these coastal parts. The cold air from the coast is then drawn towards the hotter Central Valley. That brings cold breezes into valleys or through gaps in mountain ranges, and it also will meet warm air and condense into fog. So you'll find a lot of fogs in these areas as well. Now, these cooling influences make these coastal parts of California absolutely ideal for growing Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, helping to produce grapes with ripe flavors, yet with that really important high acidity and moderate alcohol. So this is really important, of course, for great quality sparkling wine. Now, in addition to those varieties, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, there are a wide range of varieties used for mainly the tank method sparkling wines, including Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, Viognier, Syrah, and Tempranillo. So those varieties typically for tank method. And where these grapes are grown in warm regions, they're typically harvested earlier, and the wines may require residual sugar to compensate for underripe flavor characteristics. Okay, let's look at the geography, and the first county that we are going to is Mendocino County. So this sits just to the north of Sonoma County, but still on the coast. And specifically, we're highlighting on the right-hand side in blue there, Anderson Valley. Now, the northwestern part of this AVA, Anderson Valley, is absolutely close to the Pacific, and cool ocean breezes and fogs are brought across the Navarro River, which runs down the Anderson Valley. And this moderates temperatures and reduces sunshine hours further up the valley due to those fogs. We have a wide diurnal temperature range here, and this enables grape growers to maintain high acidity, is important for sparkling wine production. The region, Anderson Valley, is home to the Roederer estate, of course, founded by the champagne house of the same name. Wineries that predominantly make still wines will make a small amount of sparkling, and many wineries will actually buy fruit from outside of the region and vice versa. So you will find that big producers down in Napa will buy this cool climate fruit from Anderson Valley. Next up, we're going to the county which sits to the south of Mendocino, and that is Sonoma County. Okay. At the bottom here, you'll actually see Bodega Bay, which was the picture on the first slide that I was showing. Now, cool breezes and fogs here provide cooling influences both via the river, which is the Russian River, which runs from Mendocino and empties out into the Pacific, and also via the Petaluma Gap, which is a gap in the coastal mountain range. Now, the Petaluma Gap AVA is actually centered around the wind speed, so it's actually really quite a cool area. So the Russian River Valley will have some of that as well. Russian River Valley is home to the sparkling pioneer Korbel that you'll see on that left-hand side, Californian champagne, as it states on the label. Next up in our little journey around these key areas is Los Carneros. Now, this is not on the coast, but Carneros is on the San Pablo Bay. So Carneros is actually an interesting AVA that straddles two counties, both Sonoma County and then Napa County. So you'll see that blue shaded area on your map is the southern sections of both of those areas. Now, this sits on the San Pablo Bay and gets cool air from the San Pablo Bay, because if you follow the San Pablo Bay out, it goes underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and, of course, out to the Pacific. So this is a cooler area. It's home to the Carver founder, Freixenet, who has the label on the right-hand side, Gloria Ferra. So that's here. And also on the left-hand side, Domaine Carneros, which is the estate founded by Tattinger from Champagne. Next up, we're going to go across. So if you look at your map on the left-hand side, that brownish area is actually Los Carneros. Look at it straddling Sonoma County and in Napa County. So we're now just focusing on Napa Valley in Napa County. Now, most of Napa is actually too hot for growing grapes for sparkling wine. Important wineries, though, have been founded here for sparkling wine production, and they typically source their fruit from the coolest parts of Napa County or from outside of the county. The example in play here is the bottle that you see on the right-hand side. This is Schramsberg. So some producers continue to grow or source all their fruit from Napa Valley, but others will source from elsewhere, as we mentioned. Now we're heading south of San Francisco, and we head to Monterey. Now this is Monterey County, highlighted in this map. The blue area, the light blue area, is Monterey AVA. And where that Monterey AVA goes up to the northern section, this is the Monterey Bay that we're going to talk about on the next slide. Now, in the 1940s, the professors Winkler and Amarine of the University of California, Davis, actually created a heat summation scale, and they identified large proportions of Monterey as cool zones 1 and 2 suitable, therefore, for growing Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And as a result, many vineyards were developed. I just want to show you Monterey Bay there, which is the bay that sits at that northern tip of Monterey AVA. Now, this follows down into what's called the Salinas Valley, and a lot of cool air comes here, and this is a huge underwater canyon, and that holds a lot of cold water. The wind comes across, picks that up, and then goes down the Salinas Valley. So these northern parts of Monterey, which you see the land here to the sort of southeast of this picture, will actually remain quite cool. So these are some of the coldest parts which are able to produce varieties like Chardonnay and Pinot. They also can get a little bit continental inland, so this creates quite a high diurnal temperature range with very cold nights, which helps maintains the acidities as well. Then we are coming down to San Luis Obispo County, or Slough County. So this is the whole area here. Now the shaded out area here is actually Paso Robles, but we're heading to the southern section of San Luis Obispo, where we find two AVAs, Edna Valley and the Arroyo Grande Valley. Now these two AVAs are in the coolest part of San Luis Obispo County. Because of their proximity to the coast and this funneling through the valley here, that is why we get very cold conditions. Perfect, of course, for sparkling wine. Then we are heading down into Santa Barbara County, SBC, here on your slide. Winkler and Amarine, remember the professors outlining the heat summation scale, also identified large portions of Santa Barbara County as cool zones 1 and 2. Now this is a really fascinating area because this is the county that lies above Los Angeles, and logically we think this is going to be probably one of the warmest. But it's actually the formation of the topography here. So the mountain ranges in the rest of California for vineyards lie north to south or south to north, whichever way you look. And they follow sort of along the coastline. But here, the transverse ranges are actually mostly sort of east to west or west to east. So it changes, and that's able to capture the cold currents and move them into these key areas such as Santa Maria Valley and Santa Rita Hills. So these two are the two key areas for producing some wonderful sparkling wines because they are fantastic for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. You also find quite a lot of real calcium-rich soils, which are very alkaline, which in turn produces quite high acidic fruit, perfect for traditional method sparkling wine. Now, grapes for sparkling wine are also grown in warmer places. Now, generally, premium sparkling wine will not be found in these areas, Central Valley and Lodi. But companies such as Wiebel produce large volumes of tank method and flavoured sparkling wines here, and you'll see some of those pictures just there of the Wiebel lineup. Outside of California, we head up to the Pacific Northwest, and first of all, we're going to the state that borders Canada and British Columbia. This is Washington State. You'll see it here, situated between 50 and 45 parallel north. That actually puts it on par with the likes of Burgundy in France, for example. So this northerly latitude, plus the fact it's very continental because it sits behind the Cascade mountain ranges, we're talking mainly the Columbia Valley here, you get a very high diurnal range. So you have the northerly latitude, high diurnal range, which creates grapes with the possibility of high acidity, suitable for sparkling wine. You'll find Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and even Meunier as the blends for the fruit. Now, the Washington State is the second largest producer of sparkling wine in the United States, with the bottle on the right-hand side being sparkling wine made by Chateau Saint Michel. They are by far the largest producer. You'll find Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir, and single varietal wines from other varieties such as Gewürztraminer, Riesling, and even Müller-Thurgau. Typically the wines are mid-priced. And then the state that sits between Washington State and North California is the beautiful state of Oregon. This has increasingly added sparkling wine to its offer of still Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And of course, we all know about the real high quality of Pinot Noir from Oregon. And there is also the emergence of Chardonnay here too. The cool climate of the Willamette Valley allows fruit to ripen slowly and to retain the high natural acidity. Argyle, the bottle on the left there, certainly said to be some of the pioneers behind sparkling wines here. And for wineries that do not specialize in sparkling wine, which is most, the technically demanding processes required for traditional method wines, the knowledge the funding, the storage. All of this can be supplied by a specialist company such as Radiant Sparkling Wine. So there are custom crush operations that can do this for you. Okay, well, that brings me to a conclusion looking at the sparkling wines of the United States of America. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I really hope that you can post some questions and some comments. Perhaps you have tried some of the examples that I have given you across this presentation. What are your thoughts and theories about the quality in comparison to, say, champagne or cava? Or maybe are you more of a fan of things like Prosecco in comparison to the tank method sparkling wines found in California? It'll be very interesting to hear from you. Please do get in touch. And if you do find yourself in the UK, please come and say hello for a class, glass, or bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.